Mr. Esiedesa, good day and welcome to our program.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be with you.
Now, we are talking about religious violence in Nigeria. How would you describe the overall picture? Who is most at risk today in Nigeria, and which militant groups are most actively involved?
Okay, so religious violence and attack on Christians mainly have been with us for a very long time. Okay, if we go back, you will see the attack started under our former President Goodluck Jonathan, and initially it was perpetrated by a group known as Boko Haram, loosely translated as Western education is forbidden. They started in 2011, where churches were under attack. In fact, it snowballed into also attacks on the United Nations headquarters building in Abuja, and we also saw attacks too on police headquarters. Most of the attacks come from Islamic groups, Boko Haram, Islamic State of West Africa, Province, Ansaru, different groups. And it has gone on for over 10 years now on a large scale. It has gone on for over 10 years. And Christian communities, when you ask who is most at risk, we are talking about Christian communities located in southern Kaduna, in Plateau State, Benue State, Taraba State, Adamawa, Kwara, Niger State, and it has continued, and lots of people have been killed in these years, mostly Christians. So,
like you say, it is Christians that are specifically targeted by jihadist groups such as Boko Haram, and you've mentioned the Islamic State of West Africa. Are there any Muslim groups that are also targeted by these jihadis?
Okay, so the way we see it, there are states that are up north that has boundaries with countries in the north of Nigeria, in Niger, states like Yobe, states like Borno State, Katsina. We have seen also some action in Sokoto and in Zamfara State. In those areas, it is really not about Christians or Muslims. We are not talking about geographical control. You know, they take over local government and run the local government, you know, practically without the Nigerian states and government apparatus there. So they take over the area and run it. So in those areas, you could say yes, because those areas, they are principally Muslim area. I said yes. So in those Islamic groups, the population there are principally Muslims. So yes, Muslims are also affected by the violence because there is no government protection for them.
So there is a widespread narrative internationally that there is a genocide against Christians taking place in Nigeria. From your experience on ground, would you say that is correct?
Okay, so it's true definition of what a genocide is, if you apply it to what we are, I am a little bit reserved in describing what is happening as a genocide. Are there killings? Absolutely. Are Christians being killed? Absolutely. Are churches being burnt? Absolutely. Are the killings in large numbers? Yes, in hundreds of them. Communities, Christian communities, especially in Plateau State, in southern Kaduna, in Taraba, in Benue, communities are being burnt down, the residents are being chased away and killed. So there is, I really wouldn't call it a genocide yet, but we are really seeing a lot of Christians being killed in the country. A lot at those locations.
Some of these attacks are happening in the so-called Middle Belt, where conflicts between herders and farmers are also very common. How much of the violence is truly motivated by religious motives and religious reasons, and how much is it driven by land and resources and the land grabbings?
Okay, so you see, when people talk about herders-farmer clashes, they really don't put a context to it, because it is very few occasions will you see farmers fighting herders, because herders, quote and unquote, herders are armed Fulanis, Muslim groups that are armed with military-grade weapons. The farmers do not have automatic weapons. Principally, the farming system is the basic farming system with cutlasses and hoes. They don't even have machines, plows. They don't have that. They don't have those. They just subsistence kind of farming, farm to feed your family. Then you sell the excess to the market. So farmers actually do not have the sophistication to engage in any form of violence. What happens is the Fulanis and the jihadis hide under herders to attack communities, drive them out of their land, drive them out of their villages, and take over those villages. So there is actually nothing like herders farmer class, because farmers do not fight. They are oftentimes the victim of the attacks. So you really cannot herders farmer clash. What you are seeing is a deliberate plan by Islamists and jihadists, Fulanis mostly, from the north of Africa, to take over the land of mainly Christian populated areas by pursuing them out of their lands and out of their villages.
In cases where churches and priests and pastors or Christian villages are targeted, are these the main motives? Trying to scare or ethnically cleanse Christians from those areas? What are the main motives of jihadi violence against Christian? Ideology, intimidation, ransom, or something else?
I think it's a bit of all of these, because their operations need funding. They get funding by kidnapping for ransom. They want to create fear in people. They want to ensure that people in those locations, in the Middle Belt, do not have the confidence to go to church. to and worship freely. So if you are a Christian, a Catholic, for instance, and during a Sunday mass, your priest is kidnapped, you wouldn't be so excited to go to church mass. So it's a bit of all of this. They want to make sure that Christians do not worship freely in those geopolitical locations. When you talk about Middle Belt, so we are seeing a lot of activities now in Kwara State. We have seen a lot in Niger State. The attack in Plateau State is still ongoing. The attacks in Southern Kaduna too. Then you still have Benue, you still have Taraba, you still have Adamawa State. Then you are talking about Southern Borno that is dominated by Christians. So in all of these is to create fear and to drive people away from their land and their communities so that the Islamists could take over.
Are there any numbers or are there any verified figures when it comes to victims of jihadi violence, to Christian victims of jihadi violence in Nigeria? Are there any trustworthy estimates how many people have died within the last year or within the last couple of years?
Unfortunately not, because the system is weak. There is no accountability. Governments, for all intent and purposes, want to downplay the numbers. The government, in most cases, do not have presence in some of these communities. And because of that, you have, what newspapers do is to rely on communities, so you see it happens and you see community burying people in hundreds. You see mass grave of 200-300 ones. So principally that is what the media rely on for their figure. But from the government, none. You really don't have a reliable figure from the government.
How would you say that the government, or how effective is the Nigerian state when it comes to protecting civilians and Christian communities? What do ordinary people say and how do they feel when it comes to their personal safety? Can they trust the government that the government will take care of their safety, of the safety of Nigerian citizens?
Unfortunately not. No one trusts the government. No one relies on them for protection. So what you see communities do is they form local vigilante, try to protect themselves. But unfortunately, the scale is tipped against them, because why the insurgents, the jihadis, can have military-grade weapons, communities are left with the basic Dane guns, cutlass, bow and arrows, and stuff like that to protect themselves. There is absolutely no trust in the capacity of the government to protect them, to protect communities. And that is why you have seen the attacks in the past a month or so, especially with Donald Trump's allegation about the Nigerian government, that despite the step up by the security forces, were abduction and attacks.
And how do local Muslim communities react to jihadi violence and terrorism? Do you also see mosques, imams or Muslim leaders coming under attack when they oppose Boko Haram and other terrorist groups?
Yes, they do. And they also suffer, like I mentioned earlier. But most of the attacks on Muslims and Muslim communities are attacks that take place in geographical areas controlled by these Islamists. So you could see, for instance, in Borno State, you will see attacks on Muslims while they are praying in the morning. You see attacks on mosques, but principally, these are located in areas where there is a contestation between the Islamists and the Nigerian forces. So most of those attacks are actually to signal to them that the Nigerian government cannot protect them. Not really a pro-hand attack of Muslim communities, no. But based on their location, yes, they are also vulnerable to attacks.
And my final question, despite all the violence, are there any examples of communication, or how does communication and cooperation between moderate Muslim groups and moderate Muslims in Nigeria and Christians look like? Are there any good examples that could give you hope that there is a possible future which looks better than the present now?
There is actually no problem between irregular Christian and irregular Muslim. There are no issues, there are no problems. Both religions have, been together for a very long time, since the inception of the country. Nigeria as a nation, they have coexisted for a long time. So there has not, apart from no pockets of disagreements that at times leads to violence, they generally coexist peacefully. There are Muslim farmers, there are Christian farmers. Okay? Now, at the national level, you see the Sultan of Sokoto and the Christian Association of Nigeria coming together, forming a group, trying to pass a message of peace and reconciliation and cohabitation between the two religions. So there really, how do I put it now? There really is no big issue between the Muslim in Nigeria and the Christian in Nigeria until the jihadists and the Boko Haram started rearing their heads within our community and system.
Mr. Esiedesa, thank you so much for being our guest and helping us understand the situation in Nigeria better.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.